My homies, there are a ton of deep diving crankbaits out there in the market, and I probably have half of them in my Bass Mafia box. There's one aspect where I think a lot of anglers get it wrong, and that's picking the right crankbait, the right nuance, the right vibration for the right situation, especially for this early summer schooling offshore bite. So what we're gonna do in this video, we're gonna take the guessing out of it, we're gonna take the BS out of it. I'm literally gonna show you exactly what I have in my box and why I have every single bait and what situation they fit. So hit that like and subscribe button if you like real fishing, you're gonna like this. So I divide my crankbaits up into 3 categories, 6XD, 8XD, and 10XD. I use the Strike King model, basically. 6XD and 8XD, ultra deep divers. 8XD's got a little bit bigger body, and then the 10XD, Mondo Mega Mecha, dude. Giant Barbara Streisand, mega freaking crankbaits, ultra deep, big bodies. I'm using the same baits across all those categories, but the trick is they all have different slight vibrations and kind of feel to them. How are they displacing water? Are they aggressive? Is it a soft vibration? Do they have a tight wobble? Do they have a wide gait to them? That's the most important part, because this bite is 100% about reaction and finding that little key to that action, to that vibration, to the way that crankbait's behaving underwater. That's what triggers them. That's what unlocks the secret to crankbait fishing. KVD made it famous. I love these baits. They're a standard. If you're gonna start with one, this is the one to start with. However, the only downside is everybody throws them, dude. They see a ton of them. Now there's some variations. There's a silent one. To be totally honest, if you're gonna go with the silent, I go with more of a balsa style bait versus that silent. It just has a little more consistent action, and it definitely has a more subtle kind of finesse style action, which is what you're looking for in a silent bait. I just find with that silent 6XD, it just has a funky action, and oftentimes they're really hard to get to run true. Now there's like a hard knock or a one knock, very cool options, but once again, it's that same body design. So I try to stay away from the 6XD, but there are times when that is the one. It is the standard. One of my favorites, and I've showed you guys this one a whole bunch, is the 6 Sense Crush C15. Super cool color. So one thing that they have going for them is some of the best paint jobs, some of the best finishes of all these crankbaits. The other thing is it's a hyper aggressive crankbait. The key right now is these fish need to be triggered. You can drag a worm slow and not catch dick. You can pick up this crankbait that's super aggressive, that's got this wobble, this tight, aggressive digging action, and all of a sudden you got 25 pounds. I've seen it happen and I've done it myself. The trick with that 6 Sense is it has a hyper aggressive wobbling action. It's still got a tight wobble, but it's a very hard digging, bulldozing style bait. It gets down very quick, it digs very hard, but it keeps it with a tight wobble. It's also a slightly bigger profile bait. So if I'm not working that C15 and it's just not closing the deal, there's 2 different options. One, and you're gonna see right away, I use this thing a lot. This is the Berkley Dredger. So it comes in a variety of sizes. It's a little more subtle of a crankbait. In my opinion, it's the closest plastic bait that you can get to a balsa type feel. It gets down, it gets deep. However, it doesn't have that pulling back style action or that dragging style feel. It's very easy to fish. It doesn't take a toll on your back, on your arms. You can fish it all day, but it still gets down. The wobble is very tight, very subtle. And that body actually, which is another one we're going to talk about, they steal kind of the body a little bit. See how the head's flat right there? So there's another bait we're going to talk about in a minute, the Azuma. What happens is the water actually displaces off of that head, and that head actually acts as an extension of the bill of the crankbait, allowing that bait to get down easier and more subtly with less wide gait, less dragging vibration, and it just gets it down and shoots it down and keeps it down. It's that water pressing against that head. That's the key with the Azuma as well. This is Timmy Horton. He's a local guy, dude, killer on the Tennessee River. It's that same concept, has a little bit different body design, but has that flat head. And that flat head allows this bait to get down and stay down. And since that flatness is behind the head, it actually makes the bait kind of wobble more side to side than a super wide action. Keeps the bait down, keeps the vibration tighter than a lot of your other baits. The really big subtle one though is the other Balsa, and this is a staple, especially as we get later in summer, the DT series. This is like a DT20, I run a DT16, I rarely run down to a DT14, there's situations when you can, but I like these baits to kind of over dive. Another key with crankbait fishing is if you're in 15 foot, you want to fish one that dives like 18 foot, 19 foot, because you want to get down to the bottom as quick ASAP, dude. You want to be grinding that bottom for the longest period of time that you can. And in my personal opinion, the more that bait grinds the bottom, the better reaction or the better triggering action that it has for these bass. Jumping up to the 8XD, a lot of the same body styles, but what you're gonna find is these baits are bigger. So an 8XD, which is this one right here, is one of still my favorites, dude. Now, it's a bigger body, and what's very interesting is the design is very comparable to the 6XD. However, it does not pull nearly as hard. And what I'm talking about is when you're reeling it and dragging it down there, it's not pulling back on that rod with nearly the aggressiveness. It's a much more subtle bait, even though it has a bigger body and it dives deeper. It'll dive 19 to 22, depending on how you fish it, if you're gonna kneel, crank, kind of things along those lines. I really like this bait. Another one in that same category is this guy right here. Once again, the Dredger, but this is the 20 version. So diving deeper, it also has that flatter head, a little bit bigger body style than the 17. So once again, bigger bodies, and the irony with the 8XD style baits is I find they actually don't pull as hard, which is really weird. It's even true with the C20 from 6 Sense. Another just upgrade from that C15, another bigger style bait than those 6XD style baits. It just doesn't pull as hard and has a tighter wobble. My favorite out of these is probably either the Dredger or that 8XD. They seem to be the most consistent. One of the sneaky ones that I have, this one is hyper aggressive. It's sort of the contrast. It's a little smaller profile, but it gets just as deep as these 8XD style baits, and that's the Lucky Craft Flat CB. You can see it has a gigantic bill. It's very cupped. This one is going to pull on you, but you're basically getting a 6XD action, a very tight, very aggressive style action, but it's going another like 4 to 5 foot deeper. It really, really gets down there, but it's a smaller body profile and tight, super aggressive wiggle. Time for Mondo Monderson, dude. And these are the big ones, dude. Upgrade your line. Sometimes you want to go up to 15. I like throwing them on 12 still, but I'm very delicate with them. They are big baits. They come in at 1 ounce, 1.5 ounce. They're heavy, big baits, but they get down and they trigger some giant strikes, dude. So the standard, once again, is the 10XD. I've caught more gigantic bags of bass on this thing than you can imagine. Caught 49 pounds, caught multiple bags over 40. This thing does work. Once again, though, what's interesting is the action compares a lot more to the 6XD size than the 8XD. It's very tight, very aggressive. You're gonna get a lot of pullback on that rod when you're fishing it, but you're also able to access depths of 24, 25, 26, even 27 feet, depending on how long you cast and how you fish it. If you're kneel cranking, using kind of like little techniques like that. The other one is the Mondo Azuma. Now this is where you get a lot more subtle. Once again, by flattening out that head, they're able to make this bait dive deeper but retain a very tight but subtle, almost balsa-like wobble to it. One of the ones that came out last year is this guy. Spencer Sheffield kind of put this one on the map. This is a Yozuri. I think it's like the DB. I'll put links to all this stuff at Tackle Warehouse. It is a monster crankbait. This one competes with the 10XD when it comes to how much it tugs on you, dude. It gets way down there. It has a wider gait than a 10XD. It definitely wobbles wider in the water column, but it gets way down. And if you're looking for something that's gonna get that ultra aggressive reaction, this is your guy. But you're also gonna exhaust your arm, dude. It takes a toll. I think they're actually discontinuing this, and I have like 10 of them, so I don't really care. Another one is a sneaky one, and this one is from Duo Realis. They have a very unique deep diving crankbait. It comes in all the sizes. This is actually my favorite. It has a very interesting bill. Yozuri many moons ago made something like this. It has kind of an oval-esque bill, and what it actually does is it makes this crankbait wobble ever so slightly back and forth and have this very tight, very much different action from the more cuffed bill type crankbaits like the Azuma, like the 10XD. It definitely is unique and takes some getting used to. It also has a very weird rolling and side action to it when you bounce it off of cover. It sort of does this wide out dart and corrects itself, but it takes some getting used to because you lose contact with the bait when you're actually cranking it, and it almost feels like either the bait bait is spinning or a fish has the bait, but it's actually because it's doing this roll out, righting itself action. It's definitely a subtle one that they do not see nearly as much. On the hyper aggressive side, this guy will destroy your arms. This is the 6th Sense, I think it's the C25. This is the biggest one that they make. This thing is a beast, dude. If you don't think a 10XD is aggressive enough for you, this is your guy. Another interesting trait to it is it dives down at a steeper grade than your 10XD, and a lot of these other baits. Basically, it's the fastest to get down of the Mega Mondo crankbaits that I have. It freaking gets down, but dude, it tugs your arm off. But if you're looking to really present something of the most aggressive category to these fish and make them react, get one of these. They used to make it in a silent, which I still have a few of, and dude, it's naughty. The silent in this guy, in the giant one, is a beast. One of the ones that I haven't talked a lot about, I do have it in the 6XD size, but I kind of like this size. This is the Spro. It's the not so little John, I guess you could say. This is actually a flat-sided crankbait. It's a very unique style crankbait. It has more of a flattened bill right there. It has a very unique action, much like a flat-sided like Balsa style crankbait. It has a very tight wobble. The biggest issue, and I've told you guys about this before, that I've had with the Little Johns, in concept, they're great, dude. They have a very unique action. In practice, I've had a lot of problems truing these crankbaits. So basically you have to tune them from time to time because you're knocking them off with stuff. Maybe they don't come out of the package trued and ready to go. So you gotta bend this little eye back and forth to get them to run straight. I've had a lot of issues trying to make these Little Johns run straight. I'll buy like 5 of them. One of them will run true. The rest of them I have just a struggle trying to get them to run straight. The last one I'm gonna show you is the very sneaky one. And I've been playing around with this and you're probably gonna see a video about it. This is the 6th Sense pump crank. This is a new style of crankbait. It's kind of like a crankbait jerkbait fusion. It actually somewhat suspends. It's gigantic. It comes in over an ounce and it has a very subtle bill to it. This is the only exception to all these crankbaits in the sense of you don't want it to grind the bottom. You're gonna fish it in the same aggressive kind of like stop and go or try to get it down and burn it and pull it kind of way. But this bait is never going to hit the bottom. It's something for riding over and drawing these fish up. Not so much a forward-facing approach, but basically it mimics some of the behaviors that we've seen with these fish on forward-facing, where they're on the bottom and they refuse to bite something on the bottom, but they want something super aggressive over the top, coming over them, and they'll come up and hit it. It's a very, very unique bait. You need to throw it on like swim bait style tackle. It's big. It has a very subtle vibration for how big it is, but it gets down to like 10, 12 foot, depending on the line that you're throwing it on, and it's super unique. You're gonna see more of this. I'm gonna show you how to use it in a video because it's different than any kind of crankbait we've ever fished. I hope you guys enjoyed this though. Crankbaits are a powerful tool right now. If you're not using the right one in a certain situation, you're doing it wrong and you're not gonna get bit. I hate to be that honest, but that is the case. I found that vibration, picking the right aggressiveness of the crankbait is hugely important as we go throughout this summer kind of offshore period. If you guys got anything to add, drop it down in the comments box. I'll put links to all these at Tackle Warehouse and Monster Bass down in the description box if you guys want to go check them out. Grab your cranking rod though, start slanging, dude, and freaking try to tear your arm off. Grind that thing like there's no tomorrow. Bulldoze it, make some trenches in the bottom, catch some bass. Later, my homies.